A big shout out to our wonderful channel members. Hello and welcome to ARKS Lounge. I'm Kathy, your host. I'm joined today with Section Skyline.
Thank you.
And today we have a guest with us.
How's it going, everybody? This is Equinox Asterius, your Guardian ARKS Prime.
It's got a voice made for this.
Yes. You should make a podcast,
I have a
actually.
radio voice.
Yeah. How is it going, everyone? What have you been up to?
So, on mind at least, so on the NGS side, mainly just been leveling a lot of alts. I've been leveling a gunner recently, and experiencing how bad gunner is.
Oh,
Gunner
boy.
really needs buffs.
Yeah.
Also, been playing quite a bit of Phantasy Star 3 on the streams as well, and it's been really surprising me how much NGS draws from it.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
On my end, I've actually been getting back into unrestifying myself on my artwork. On NGS side of things, a little bit of cosplaying, a little bit of fashion stuff. Mainly trying to prep myself to try to take on Masquerade. I've been procrastinating on that. I know a bunch of people have gotten to that already, but hey, procrastination makes perfect, so.
I'm still there with you on that. I'm only about halfway through it.
Yeah, I've done that when it first came out, and I was like exhausted for a week afterwards. That fight will really mess you up. I myself, man, it's been so long since the last headline and ARKS launch. I feel like it's only 1 week longer than usual, but it feels like months went by. So I've been recently catching up on a lot of Star Wars because the Andor season 2 came out. And it's so good. It's low-key like reignited my passion for the franchise, which been a long time coming. I feel like you can even like see. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that was me when I watched Star Wars Vision and I saw Best Girl, Best Jedi Lop. From that was my reigniting into Star Wars again.
Yeah. I was super surprised that Star Wars Battlefront apparently has active players now, even though the last update was like 5 years ago. So that shows how much a good show can do to a franchise. We should get a NGS anime. That would be
I was just
dope.
going to say that.
Oh, I've been waiting for that. No, I definitely 100% believe in the power of anime reviving series. I mean, look at Cyberpunk. Look what it did for that.
Yeah, totally. I feel like the NGS anime could probably be like a prequel to the story. Like, whatever happened like 500 years ago or something, that would be dope.
Oh, that's just going to be depressing then. Everything that happened is a photo. Holy cow.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like, you have Andor, which is like a prequel to a movie where everyone dies. So,
that's fair.
It works. Yeah, before we start, I'd like to shout out something we received in the meantime from after the last episode. And it's a little piece of fan art we've got from the user Nix. He's at Nick10Force on Blue Sky. They sent this awesome artwork. I absolutely love it. Thank you very much.
Ooh, can I see it?
I saw it. Looked amazing.
Yeah, I think I showed it to you. If not, then let me... Here it is.
If I'm right, is it the one of Kathy at the bar?
Yes.
Oh, that's the one. I actually did see that one. Yeah, that one actually is really sick. Good stuff, Nix.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And they do art in this style in general, which is awesome. Everyone should go follow them. They need more exposure.
I'm about to do that right now, as a matter of fact.
What was up with the game lately? Well, we got SEGA account finally on global.
We did?
Yeah, we've been a little bit late with that compared to JP.
Yeah, there's a bunch of incentives, I believe. You actually get some items if you link your accounts up. I haven't done it myself personally, but I'm going to get to it.
Yeah, you get a bunch of stuff, even more than when it launched for JP, which quite surprised me. You get like 10 silver tickets and 400 star gems.
Wasn't there like 500 card vouchers as well?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's good for new and returning players. They can get into the game much better now.
Especially considering we can line strike across the universal ships now.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be super helpful. I hope, or at least instead of bots, I'm gonna start using old ship now when I'm farming my line strike vouchers. Which is also pretty cool that we're getting a new set of cards as well, based on universe and portable characters.
It's so nice to see universe getting some love.
Yeah, I was.
It's rare.
Exactly. I was like complaining lately. Not complaining, but like somebody mentioned that NGS needs to be better at like referencing older titles. I'm like, I mean, it's pretty good already. It's just like, where's universe?
No, agreed. I'm still waiting for more universe stuff. In my end, I would love to see Who Cast show up as a line strike card. Best boy, best character.
Yeah, of the 12 cards, there's going to be weirdly 2 about Vivienne.
I suppose she was a main character, so...
Yeah. I wonder if people are going to be confused about the... Nagisa, is she called, I think?
Yes, the heroine from Infinity.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nagisa.
Because, like, Infinity never arrived over here, which is a shame.
It's going to be interesting, yeah, because I think a lot of people are just going to think, who is this?
Yeah, maybe also, Sega should, like, bring all those games over or something. Just a thought.
Yeah,
maybe they should.
Especially since,
go and play Infinity, though.
Yeah, especially since, like, the PS5 actually has a PSP emulator, I think, so maybe, like, translate the game and release it. I would buy it. It's really, like,
they did supposedly hint at, during the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, that Phantasy Star series is going to be going into Switch Online. So if that means we're getting, like, Blue Burst Online or something, oh, I am so there. I am so there. Still, I'm not a fan of the price, but I'm so there.
Yeah.
Was that just recently, then, or...?
Yeah, it was the last headline. I think it was like a week or 2 ago? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? Yeah, it was a little bit ago.
I should go and watch that.
I mainly was watching the Direct just for, like, pure Metroid stuff and what Sega stuff they could bring over. I'm still waiting for Nights into Dreams Revival. Yep, that's right. I'm very big on Cope.
Hey, I'm still waiting for Rayman 4, so I know how that feels.
Oof.
It's bad enough waiting for Phantasy Star, never mind waiting for something like Nights.
Yeah. But I feel like at least episode 1 plus 2 and episode 3 Card Revolution, I could see that easily be added to the NSO expansion thing.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if it happens, I'm like day one playing that.
I low-key want to imagine that if they are going to make it capable of being a thing online, on Nintendo Switch Online, they might do it for Steam as well. If that's the case, then, I mean, I hope they consider that, because, yeah, like, Blue Burst on Steam, online again, officially, that's just going to be a moneymaker for them all around.
Yeah.
Do it, Sega. Do it.
And we know that...
Especially if it's a remaster.
Yeah, and we know that... PSO1 is like strangely compatible with each other despite all the different versions. Like, I think there's a video on Good Vibe Games that shows how they're just connecting the Dreamcast version with the episode 2 version, with the episode 1 plus 2 version, with the PC version to the same lobby system.
There is there is a server where you can basically log onto it with like Dreamcast, GameCube, more or less whatever you want to play, you can log onto it with.
Yeah, which is crazy for a 2001 game, to be honest.
Actually insane we had crossplay better back then than now.
Yeah.
Like, where do we go wrong?
I have no idea. Sony became greedy. Something has to be done with that.
Ugh.
It's so silly that like PlayStation is the only platform with its own AC currency that you can't use in other platforms. Also remember,
why would you ever buy it on PlayStation?
yeah, I also remember like previously they wouldn't allow like PlayStation and Nintendo Switch owners to play together or even interact with each other. Like the chat bubbles would just display nothing. Like what?
PC
why?
Master Race.
Yeah, like the PC is the only platform that could play with everyone, so I don't know what the point of that was. I thought today it would be interesting to explore the topic of rare weapons in Phantasy Star.
Got my interest.
Yes, I never like fully played PSO and PSU, so I don't know exactly how those games handled rare weapons. I feel like Sky is gonna know a lot about that.
How long have you got?
Hit me. I don't know.
Well, let's not be too hasty. Let's not be rash.
So, if we start with PSO, so in PSO, basically every monster tended to have its own specific rare drop, and then there was like specific drops for boxes as well. And then the drops were also split up by difficulty level as well, so certain things were only dropping certain difficulties. So, because of how PSO worked, it had this like ID system where each ID found specific gear as well.
Yeah.
So you would typically make characters to go and hunt specific gear.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of PSOs, particularly the end game, is almost entirely about finding rares. So it's very, very focused on that.
Yeah. And how common are those rares?
They vary a lot. So there are some that are really, really easy to get. Even when you get to the highest difficulty, there are some monsters that will drop things all the time. But then it goes into ridiculous numbers. I mean, it depends on what versions you're playing, but I think if you take one of the easier versions of PSO, which is Blue Burst, there are still some drops that are like up to 1 in 300,000.
Nice.
The Red Ring. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think Red Ring, yeah, that's like from Ultimate
I'm still
Boss.
trying to help my wife. We were taking a break from Blue Burst, but I'm still trying to help my wife get that Red Ring for her because yeah, that's one of the bucket things she always wanted to get on Blue Burst. Rare drop for me, honestly, at least in my experience, has unfortunately always been better in the other PSO series than in NGS because at least in the other series, if everybody got different stuff, then you could drop trade or trade at least on like PS old 2 and base. But here in NGS, for some very bizarre, strange reason, I'm just genuinely flabbergasted. We don't have trades yet. We have to resort to being the quickest finger in the West and going to the player shop and putting something at 1 Meseta or something before some rando just snipes the hell out of it and hoping that the transaction goes through. And it's just so silly and risky, especially considering a recent Central comic implied that Manon traded something with Faria, and I'm just like, hold on, Sega, what are you trying to say here? Come on now.
I played a different game.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel like they could implement some trading that's not gonna cost too much RMT. Like maybe you need to have each other on the friends list for 30 days or something. Like,
Yeah.
completely removing the system entirely is like so silly in my opinion.
Especially considering all the titles we had to get for the player shop in the first place. Like,
Yeah.
goodness, I remember it took me forever to get those titles. I forget what they're called, but you know what I'm talking about. The one where it's like, buy something from the shop 80 billion times so you can find your friends on the player shop, and it's just like, dog, come on now.
Yeah.
I still don't have that.
Oh wow.
My point exactly, yeah. Like, I think I barely got that, like, maybe like last year, towards the end of last year, and I've been playing NGS since launch. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, at some point I just started buying grinders with like 1 copy each because it just takes forever to unlock it legitimately. I specifically want to talk about this topic because NGS actually started to do something with rare weapons, which is the Legend Rarity series.
Yeah.
Previously it was like kind of funny because the whole drop system would blue ball you, where you get the gold drop animation, so you immediately think, oh, did I get lucky? Did I get a new weapon? And then it's just like a Ruppy build part.
Yep. Oh my goodness. The like we would think we got a wing guard back then, and it was a flugel guard. And I was like, no, it's not the same thing. Ugh.
Yeah, and now with the legend weapons, they actually have a unique animation. So you likely won't get blue balled by that anymore, unless they start doing multiple legend weapons, which.
I mean, it says Legend 1, doesn't it? So I assume it's going to be Legend 2, Legend 3.
And
I'm really curious how they're going to handle that, honestly.
Yeah, that's like the thing that concerns me, because like, how are you going to see at a glance that Legend 1 is as strong as 12 star, and Legend 2 is as strong as 13 star? Like, that doesn't seem to have exactly really good parallels with each other. And also, like, legend weapons aren't the only ones that are tied to drop rate, apparently, because the new 13-star weapons are going to be also drop only. And I assume they're also going to be unobtainium level, so...
I'm personally a little conflicted towards that because, at least in my experience playing NGS since day one, up until recently, you already know, they were not doing much in terms of making it so that they would reward you for your grind in the long run. So they would have to kind of just force you to like, oh, if you want to take on the new stuff, you better upgrade your weapons. And they kind of alleviated that a little bit with the unaugment transfer passes.
Yeah.
But now they made it things even better with the Acrocelia series, except they just basically told us, hey, by the way, that's the last one of the Acrocelia. That's the last thing. And I'm like, what do you mean it's the last thing? So silly me thinking that we were going to be like back in base PSO2 where the evolution weapons were just that one and like the last one going into like, you know, your exo goodness, I already forgot the name of it. You already know what I'm talking about, the Trailblazers and all that good stuff. But
yeah.
the exo set, yeah, there you go. What I'm concerned about is I think there's going to be a little bit of a question for most players like myself once we get into the 13-star series of, should I just immediately try to get this 13-star by beating up Malding Vial, or should I wait until they do another new evolution weapon for the 13-star series, because that's also a possibility.
Yeah, I feel like this is like the main issue that NGS had for a while, where it didn't really give you too many options with weapons. And now with 12-star, we finally got like the series that always drops, the series that's like moderately rare but is upgradable, and then the super rare weapons that never drop.
I think for me, I think it's nice to have the super rare weapons because it does give you kind of a goal to go towards for me as like an old PSO player.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like they're overcomplicating it slightly by having the like 12 and 13 stars and the legend weapons. It kind of feels like we didn't need to do both necessarily. We could have just had, say, 13-star weapons that act like the legend weapons do.
Yeah, especially since 13-star weapons are going to have the same new animation for drops. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's also nice to know that legend weapons will get at least one upgrade to make them relevant longer. Because like that's also something that I feel like discourages a lot of people from using rare weapons, because like by the time you get them, they just get power crept. Like in this case, Legendios. We already know that the 13-star weapons are going to be stronger. But at the same time,
that's the main issue as well, is that the 13 stars for me are just far too soon.
Yeah, same. I actually wrote it on Reddit like a day prior that I don't think 13-star would make much sense at the moment.
Yeah.
And then they announced 13-star. I was like,
I mean, I'm going to assume they're just gassing up Malding Dark Falls Vial at that point, because if they're busting out 13 stars this early, then he must be like, you know, some kind of big boss. But to kind of go off of what you were saying about like it's not really all that great, the whole like rewarding people in the long run, I'm gonna tell you right now, I was there 3,000 years ago, Gandalf, for the Kaisar series, the Blizzardium grind. I'm so glad they learned from that, but no, I was still coping even to this day that I'm still hoarding the Kaisar. I'm literally looking at it in my inventory right now, thinking, okay, maybe next time they're going to be like, okay, we have all these materials of like all these past grinded up weapons that we spent months on. Maybe we're going to have some kind of fusion weapon and converge all of them together and make some super big weapon, and that'll be like the new 13-star series or something. I'm still coping for that. 'Cause it's like, you guys got to give me a reason for the grind in the long run. Come on now.
Yeah, it would be cool.
So maybe one day it'll be useful.
I also think it's like a little bit of a missed opportunity not to upgrade Kaisar into the yellow version that we had in 10 stars.
Yeah.
That surprised me too. I thought that's what's going to happen, but then they just made a completely different weapon. I was like, why? Why though?
I guess they didn't want to deal with the previous upgrade path. They also like never fixed it. It's still this same shit that we had on Chorus launch, where all your fixer and thingy disappear on upgrading. And then Slayer and Waker don't even have a... what was the series called? Rocks? To upgrade? They just use the materials.
Yeah, they didn't have a rock series. They got shafted on that. But I just don't get, because they had a good formula. They had a good thing going in base PSO2. We would go up to Zig in the lobby over there. He'd be like, what's the good word? What's the cool kid saying? And then boom, we would give him weapons, and then we would start going and upgrading and leveling up from that, and it would reward our grind, because the weapons that we had were by no means bad. I'm still using Atlas Exocet because that saves me from dying once from like anything. It's great. I've used that for bomb rooms in Lucille, and it still works, you know. And so well, I don't use it as often anymore right now, but you get the point. So, like, we have those uses for these weapons, and then all it is we can still upgrade them into stuff. Now that I know that we're apparently going into level 200, I mean, I'm pretty sure once we get closer to 200, we may have that type of evolution weapon, but yeah, I guess I was kind of coping that would happen towards 100.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a missed opportunity in general that they haven't done upgradable weapons from the start. Because, like, imagine there was a upgradable weapon series that goes from 1 star to 4 star, and then later you get, like, from 4 star to 5 star, etc. And then getting a new weapon isn't just, oh, I'm gonna enter the player shop, hit a few numbers, and I'm done with the game. But instead you have, like, oh, I actually have to play the game to upgrade this shit, and have everything ready to go.
Now, to be fair, they have been extremely generous. I feel like maybe this is me being greedy. They could be a little bit more generous with the augment transfers, but just me casually, very on and off playing the game, I already have enough end augment transfers to at least transfer the weapon, but absolutely not enough for the armors. So that's another thing too. I wish they would kind of, especially considering how long armors stick with you, make like an upgradable armor again. Like, I'm glad they did that for the Tricelios, but well, I know that's not what they're called. I think they're called like Xbox somethings, Xbaxtis, something like that.
Ectasis.
There you go. Yeah, whatever they decided to call the armor.
Xbox Live armor. There we go.
Yep, that's what I was calling them.
Yeah, I think the upgrade path, the way they're doing it at the minute, is quite good. I do like sort of the way that the Excellior and Ectasis armors upgrade. Yeah. I feel the balancing on the items you need does need improving though, because I think as anyone who's tried improving them probably knows, progress grinders are a real problem.
Yes. But at the same time, it's kind of good that they're a real problem, because that means there is something to grind for. I noticed that when I upgrade the units on my alts, it's like, oh, I have 3,000 extra vans, 1. So I guess I'm never gonna to grind those ever.
Wait, you guys lost me. We were having difficulty with progress grinders? I'm sitting at like 2K right now.
Well, yeah, Sky and I are playing multiple characters and gearing them up. So.
Oh, that's why. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So it is a problem entirely of our own doing, but...
Yeah, but I feel like alts in general are just fun to have in MMOs, especially in this one, because like I feel like with Kathy, I finished her design, so there's like very little I can do with her character in the salon. But with my alt characters, I still have lots of work to do until I'm satisfied.
That's fair.
Yeah. I also kind of feel like NGS has made an entirely new problem for the franchise, where they throw so much shit at you in the drops that they now need to make up new animations for drops that are actually worth paying attention to.
Yeah.
Which I was happy to see they're announced in the recent headline. The items on the featured item list and on your wanted item list will have a special animation when you get them, which is cool.
That was cool. I do like that, yeah.
I kind of wish we gotten that a little bit sooner, but hey.
I mean, I was oblivious to the fact that we even had a wanted list, so that was new to me.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to have to make that wanted list a little bit bigger now, because before we were just using that for player shop stuff. Now we can actually use it for like augments or program grinders, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And
I think one other thing they could do as well is in things like LTQs and urgent quests, there is a ton of rubbish in the rewards. So even in like the LTQs you're doing at the moment, you're still getting things like 4 and 5 star weapons.
Yeah.
And I think we need to take those out of the rewards because no one is using them. There is no point in them.
I also
They're just hogging space.
I also think they could probably expand the auto-sell feature a little bit by allowing you to select specific items you don't want, and then at the end of the quest window, they could add a new button, auto-sell everything that's on my auto-sell list.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's say you tell your auto-sell that you're not interested in icicle cubes anymore. You can just auto-sell those, because they're just hoarding your storage at this point.
They really are. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to that one meme of like Light misusing the Death Note, where he just starts writing random stuff, and then at the end he's like, "Holy shit, Light, you were right." I see the drop rate, like all the rubbish in the drop rates, and the instantaneous thing that I think of is literally just replace all of this bloated stuff with crispy meats, and then we arrive at the new civilization. Holy shit, you were right.
Yeah. The crisp meat would actually be useful, but
yeah, like we literally just need stuff that's useful that we use every single day. Like, I'm not saying like throw SG at us more than we've already been like just completely like thrown SG like every single instance. Like they're good at throwing us SG, but crispy meats, we're always gonna need that. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's also kind of unfortunate when they added the auto sell for 11-star weapons. And people were like, finally, I can play Nameless City without all these Eridim weapons. Only to
hey,
then
you guys want Clearidims?
only to then realize that, wait a minute, autosell doesn't work on these chests.
Oh yeah,
that was unfortunate. But I feel like
there isn't really a reason at the minute to do Nameless. It just feels like a bit pointless at the minute.
The only reason to do Nameless at the moment is to get X cubes, but again, they're like buried under all this trash. So a casual player who isn't aware would probably never notice that this is the main drop you're going for Nameless for, which this new drop animation will actually fix, because X cubes are on the featured list for Nameless City. So you will get an extra animation when you open chests now.
So hear me out. One thing that I've always thought would be a really good idea when it comes to like keeping the game not still when it comes to that, because unfortunately they do have an extremely bad habit of like, hey, here's this new content. Oh, by the way, we're going to release something else like in 2 weeks or a week, and then it's just going to make the drops from that completely irrelevant. I'm like, why would you guys do this? So what I'm thinking of is they did a really nice step in the right direction when it comes to the medals. The rewards that you get for, like, you know, Solus medals, Dalian medals, and we're gonna get those Malding Vial medals later on soon, because they got, like, I don't know about y'all, like, I don't know if you guys care about what's in there, but they got beta reactors there. That's money.
Yeah,
like that's just gonna be money for everybody. There's no way I would say no to beta reactors, you know. So what I'm thinking is maybe for dailies they can swap it out where it's like, hey, if you do Nameless City today, we get you more medals, and like have the medals be a permanent thing, but like have it be like a daily swap thing for content. So it's like, hey, if you want to do Shameless City today, you get some medals. You want to go beat up Havaldi over in Redtum, in that one place that nobody ever goes to anymore after they did it for like 1 week, go ahead and beat him up, and then you get medals there. And it's just like, you guys can now, congratulations, reuse the content that you guys put in the game and make it more fun, because now everybody's actually getting stuff that we need, you know?
Yeah. I feel like the rewards just need an overhaul in general.
Yeah,
because like,
Yep.
it's like,
Yep.
I this is the most frustrating part about this game. It's like that the exchange shop is like filled with garbage. The only stuff that I'm exchanging on a weekly basis is like augment capsules in the free shops that have them. It's like why do we have like 10 exchange shops and only 3 of them are worth something? And why is Aegis Integra still capped at 25 Aegis Integra per week? I have 2,000 of them. Please let me use them.
That makes even less sense when you consider that anybody starting the game can just drop 30k Meseta to get the most updated evolutionary series, the Tricelios. And it's like, why is anybody using Aegis Integras right now? They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of the shops at the minute that are completely outdated that either need removing or just updating. And I just feel there's general bloat in the shops in general, that they could just condense it into like 1 or 2 shops, really, rather than having, 100 different menus to go through.
Yeah.
So the whole reason why I was mentioning that whole cope about like, hey, maybe they're going to make all these old weapons converge into each other is that's why I was thinking, okay, why else would they still have these shops? Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe they want us to like, hey, maybe we'll one day start grinding these old weapons up so we can make it like this big fat fusion weapon or something. But they still haven't done that, so I'm not 100% sure what direction they're going with this.
In 2028, you'll be able to fuse your Kaisar with your I forget the name of the yellow Kaisar, and with your Infernium weapons, and you'll be able to fuse it with your Neos Estrian weapons, and you'll make a Super Uberanium weapon out of it. It's 15
I'm just going to pull them all out of my inventory collecting dust. It's like, you're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
Then a week later, they'll replace it with something else.
Yes.
Oh gosh, no.
That's also like the thing that slightly bothers me about weapons. It's like when they had like pretty boring potentials, it was whatever when they get power crept. But now with 12 star, we have like so many weapons with really cool potentials. I don't want to lose them. Like I really love 12. It like enhances my support capabilities as a Tector a lot. I don't want it to get power crept. It's such a good weapon for me.
It's like that Batman meme, isn't it? Where it's like, stay with me.
Yes, basically. Don't leave me, no!
And I feel like the Acrocelio potential, how it just progressively became like a combination of all the other potentials that it had. It's like become pretty much irreplaceable to me. Like, I honestly don't know what they could possibly do. Like, I know the new 13 star has like, hey, yeah, you get more potency when you like, do play the game. And I'm just like, okay, but like, look at all what Acrocelio could do though. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's something that's going to be very difficult for me, for people to like gauge on DPS charts. Because like, getting your PB cooldown reduced, that's a lot, especially for a Tector. Because like we always hit our PB on cooldown, so how is the 13 star weapon be able to compare with that, if at all?
I guess maybe they'll have something later down the line. Like I said, I still have a feeling they're gonna have something later down the line where we're gonna have like what the Acrocelio Tricelios were, but for 13 stars, and then we're gonna have those capabilities on that one for sure.
Yeah, it's also weird that they announced this new armor, but didn't specify if it's going to be upgradable or not. The name and the potency it gives leaves me to believe that it might be upgradable, because like Excelio...
Is it called Progra or something?
Yeah, Progra armor, which I bet it's gonna eat up a lot of Progra grinders.
Oh, no.
But it has like 7% potency, and armor usually has like 0.5% potency. Like, except for the upgradable one. That one had 6%, and then it upgraded into 6.5. So that's what leads me to believe that Progra armor is going to be upgradable.
They might bring back that armor they stopped doing where it's like 0.5% higher, and then you're like one hit away from death. The purple ones.
Oh no. And then every elitist is going to be like, what are you doing if you're not using that armor?
Well, it gives people a reason to farm Gigantics again.
Yeah.
Dude, to be fair, we probably could get away with having purple armors again with all these all these EX skills that keep us alive.
Yeah, true.
The shields and all that good stuff.
I feel like now that we have all these Magis capsules, it would be really easy to just get a really glass cannon armor and then just supplement it with HP. Like, I'm already running around at 1900 HP myself.
I know a lot of people are going for HP builds, but yeah, I'm still 1036. I'm full blown PP on my end. I'm just gonna be hammering, attacking nonstop.
Yes.
Reminds me of that. Wasn't there a meme build that someone did? Was it on the NGS creators? Like, that had about 8,500 HP.
Yeah, I think that was Keen. How did it trigger it? Maybe there's like some buff in the game that buffs your HP or something.
If they make an EX skill that's like, hey, you get more potency the more max HP you have, then they're gonna love that, I'm sure. But until then, it's just gonna be like, hey, you want to watch me set myself on fire? Boom, and I get extra PB now.
So, we got a mini roadmap for the next 3 months, which is kind of nice. We know that in June there's going to be Vile and the new limited time urgent quest. And the limited time urgent quest is going to tease the new enemies, which you could briefly see them in the trailer. They look like Starless with a halo on above their head.
Yeah.
And you could also see in the teaser for the next area that those enemies look very different from the Starless we fought before. They look a little bit more fleshy, a little bit more evil, like not purple but like dark in colors. So I wonder what's going to be up with that.
I have a theory regarding that. When I first saw Hueco Mundo, aka Astral Realm, or whatever we want to call the new place, when I first saw that, my instantaneous thought, like, oh, hey, this is definitely the Starless homeworld, which sounds a little bit weird to say because they're called Starless because they don't really have a homeworld, but they have to have some kind of dwelling, so this is probably like their own little dimensional plane.
Yeah.
The first thing that I thought of when I saw the more menacing ones with the halo is maybe because Vile was the only one that also had a halo, not necessarily a halo, but like a photon crown. Maybe what's really going on here is the Starless themselves, they are granted some kind of evolution once they have enough photons. That's why they're always starving. They're always trying to get, eat photons. And they're just like endlessly hungry. Maybe their evolution line, when they finally hit enough photons, is whatever we're going to face in that realm.
So you're saying we're having the plot of Evangelion?
I mean, isn't that what it always comes down to, honestly?
Yeah. That they're gonna attack our home base and cause third impact. What was... Oh yeah. Also, disclaimer to our listeners. We're recording this 2 days after the headline happened, so we still don't know what's up with the update. When the episode is going to launch, it's going to be like a week after the patch is dropped, so a lot of what we speculate about might already be proven right or false. But yeah, I see a lot of people theorize that what if Halfa was actually based on the Starless homeworld? Like subconsciously. It's like
because of Vile messing with Zepeto's mind, that's actually
a
possibility. I didn't think of that.
Because like the dolls are based on Starless, so what if Halfa itself is also based on, I don't know, whatever the dreaming, what is it called? Dreaming fantasy world realm is.
I think it was called. I think if I remember correctly, the technical name was Alter Realm. Yeah.
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 That theory, I'm not 100% sure if I can go full ham and just agree with that, just because if you look at Halfa, it's split into a couple different regions. You got Stia, you got Kavaris, you got Aleo, you got Retem, you got a couple of different places there, but they're all split up based on like completely different environments, and in the back of my head I'm thinking all Starless care about is eating photons. I don't think they care about environments. Now, at the same time, you could argue maybe some Starless are prone or based off of certain species that they have to have those kind of environments. Like, not all Starless are the same. You got Zelgius that is that huge annoying fish thing. And I guess for that one specifically, like, obviously, like, you're gonna want like a sea-based thing, but honestly, there's kind of water all around Halpha, so that one's not. I can't really say like, oh yeah, you need a specific like cold, hot, cold environment for that one. I don't know. I think we might need a little bit more information to solidify that one, but I'm gonna disagree just on the whole basis that I don't think Starless really cares about environments.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm looking at it from a different perspective because, like I mentioned at the start, I'm currently playing through Phantasy Star 3. And there are a lot of similarities between NGS and Phantasy Star 3's story. So I have my own thoughts on what's going to happen, but I'm not going to spoil it because I'm still going through Phantasy Star 3 and I want to see if my theory is right.
Okay.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Maybe we should get some more folks up in here that usually get hit by Apollo's dodgeball, and it's like, holy crap, they're right. Like, Homie Cup predicted a whole lot of stuff back in the recent patches, for example. So...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that NGS is linked to Phantasy Star 3, but I think it's definitely possibly inspired by it.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it there.
I feel like this is the one thing where like Phantasy Star games are really good at. It's like all of them feel very inspired by their predecessors. Like PSO2 especially felt like very PSO1 inspired with like episode 0 Matoi almost looking 1-for-1 like Rico from PSO. Like, very similar
with
design.
the outfit and everything,
Yeah.
Well, and then also with the one of my favorite things about NGS, which I'm still coping that they'll bring the OG Olga Flow, but they did basically make several callbacks to Olga Flow with all the Didals, because you got Frosty Flow, you got Flaming Flow, you got all these different Didals that are basically just different versions of Olga Flow. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe there's going to be a Didal vial or something.
That's gonna be
Dark Falls
yeah.
Didal.
We still have not had. I mean, unless we want to count Dalian, but the thing is, we don't really do the things that we like. For example, fighting Douche Eska back in base. Like, Douche Eska is a massive behemoth. So is Gomaroth, the previous or the form right before Sodom, the final boss. We have not had an enemy of that scale. The only thing we can count is Dalian. Dalian's been the biggest thing ever, but we don't ever really like go up to Dalian and like scale his body and like try to go. He just comes to us. So we need some kind of gargantuan boss. I will agree, something that that is on that scale of like Gomaroth or who's the other one I said? Douche Eska. Yeah.
I feel like, especially since like we have all these movement mechanics in NGS, like kick climb, photon glide, like it's a bit of a waste not to have a giant enemy to fight with them.
I agree, especially when we have that little Retem ring thing that kind of warps us around. Now, granted, that's going to be super annoying if you miss the timing, but if we're fighting a gargantuan enemy with those, it'll probably be pretty fun. The only thing, again, we have to worry about is the timing on those. You can miss that so easily.
Yeah. So in July, we're going to have the new field proper. So that's going to be interesting. It's also interesting they're releasing it on what should be an off month. Which I guess summer is going to be packed in general.
It's looking that way so far.
Yeah,
I'm all about them doing stuff on off months, honestly, because I'm pretty much story starved at this point. We've been waiting so long.
Yeah, I also feel like they could probably like maybe loosen up their schedule a little bit, because like back in PSO2, we had like a lot of seasonal quests, like almost 9 per year. But those seasonal quests weren't always like just the main gimmick for a month. We also had proper content with those seasonals. So
yeah, right.
This new schedule with like, oh, we have an off month and a content month. I can see what they're doing, but at the same time, it feels like I don't know. It's a little bit disappointing. Right now we have the 4th anniversary event, and that's just basically urgent quests, which is fine. But imagine if we had that plus the mini episodes. Like that would probably hype up people more to play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it's not like we're doing much outside of urgent quests right now.
Yeah.
So it definitely gives us something to do. Speaking of the schedule, I believe, if I remember correctly, they did mention that they were going to provide more information on the latter half of the roadmap next headline as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have pretty decent idea of how the next 3 months are going to play out. Also, speaking of mini episode, they did mention in the letter from the developer that these new mini episodes are going to be accompanied by tasks that you have to do to finish the episodes, and that they plan on all mini episodes to be distributed like this, which I think is a pretty good way of doing it, because it gives the story content a little bit more longevity than just watching a cutscene and being done with it.
Yeah.
I will say, as long as they don't time gate it like the last thing we had to deal with, I'll be totally fine with that, because oh my god, if they make me find Ligmazine or whatever it was called for Manon's Depresso Espresso ass again.
Limina Signa.
Close enough.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about them having tasks with story. I mean, I think it could be a really good thing. It depends how they're implemented.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I want is for us to go back to something like PSO2 Matterboard.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can see why they were trying the Matterboard. Because, like...
Oh, yeah.
Had they not have the Matterboard, people would be done with the story in, like, a week and then complain there's nothing to do. But...
Right.
Their
that's kind of their fault also.
Yeah. But their solution with the Matterboard ended up backfiring, where it was so grindy, people just didn't bother with the story at all.
Yeah.
So
I personally like when
the story out. Yeah, it was just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally like when they do introduce tasks that are decent enough when it comes to the story mode, because, example, we've already seen Havaldi in that one story chapter a few moments ago when Aino was training her recruits. We saw Havaldi again, so it's like, okay, I gotta lock in. I know how Havaldi is. Like, it's not something you could take lightly. So, I do like that they show off enemies that way. My only gripe is when they blue ball us in that regard, because everybody thought, I wasn't the only one, everybody thought we were gonna get a humanoid Dark Falls battle, at least for a phase or so, when they introduced Vile. We didn't think that Vile was going to go immediately, like, turbo Lovecraftian mode, like, right off the bat, but I was kind of hoping, you know, we were going to fight his humanoid form, kind of like we did in with Persona versus Profound Darkness and Base. Instead, we just got these two squid, whatever you want to call those, master hands, crazy hands in the first phase of Vile, and then I don't even know if we're still dealing with those in the Malding version, but yeah, I was really hoping for us to finally fight, you know, our version of Phaleg, but I'm hoping they're not going to just be like, here's Masquerader to replace that. I actually do hope we have some humanoid to fight later on.
I do think they could still probably bring the humanoid version in the Malding version.
That'd be sick. That'd be so sick.
Yeah. And it's also, like, interesting because, like, the squids you mentioned, they're still part of Malignant version as, like, attack animations. But interestingly, they also show up floating in the air in the new region.
So that's what that was. Okay, see, I saw that, and like, I had to zoom in because I was like, what the heck are those flying weird worm things from, like, the first Avengers movie doing there?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. Like, that's what they looked like.
Which is also kind of interesting because it feels like what PSO2 did when false arms could spawn in free fields randomly. I feel like this is probably going to be that, where a vile squid can just show up in the middle of a field.
It's the new Elder spawn. Yep.
Yes.
I think they said that the new field is linked to, it apparently appears once Vile's defeated. So there is definitely obviously a link between this new field and Vile. So maybe they do spawn there.
It's going to be interesting, like, in general, especially since, like, I know some people complain that, oh, they're just recycling the area, but from a storytelling perspective, it's, like, so fascinating because, like, there's going to be thousands of differences between Retem and Outer Retem. Like,
for sure.
Retem City is not going to be there. Trinitas is not going to be there. the seal is not going to be there. So like, what is going to be there? You know?
There is one thing that I actually really hope that they do, that it was kind of a little bit of a missed opportunity. So the whole entire basis of dolls, and going off of what you were saying, Kathy, about the whole them reusing things, the thing is, it fit into the story perspective. Like, we were like, a lot of people I saw were complaining, even though they were getting like one-shotted by Starless once they dropped the Starless update, because they were too similar to the dolls. But then Zeffetto literally explained, I'm like, are you guys Yu-Gi-Oh players? Do you guys not read? Like, they're literally based off of them because we're supposed to beat them, so why would he make them different? That would be Zeffetto setting us up for failure, which I'm glad that Vile didn't convince him to do, because he easily could have. But in the new realm, something that I'm really hoping that they do that was kind of a missed opportunity is we never got the Starless variants of the regional bosses in NGS. We never got Nex Alio. We never got Renus Ritem. Amskavaris. My favorite freaking thing to fight for like the longest time was Amskavaris. And then that giraffe thing, I forget the name of. Nilstia. Yeah, we never got the Starless version of those. So I'm hoping maybe we can see that in the Alter Realm.
Yeah, we are actually going to see that in the Alter Realm. Like, we actually saw Renus Ratem. He's one of the 2 Halo Starless that we saw. He's even in the icon for the update.
Oh! I didn't connect the 2 dots together. Oh, heck yeah! Okay, I'm super excited now. Very excited now.
We also could like see him in the trailer, like swiping his tail and like looking menacingly in the distance. So that was pretty cool. Too bad it was like 3 seconds of a trailer because they skip past everything super fast. But
I honestly think I need to go back and see it, because I was probably very groggy when I saw it the first time. Yeah, I need to go back and see that.
Yeah, that's like PSO2 trailers in a nutshell. You just have to go frame by frame just to see everything.
Lincoln, you miss it type stuff.
Yeah.
That's literally what we did, isn't it? Went through it frame by frame.
Yeah. Okay. And what I didn't expect is they actually announced that in August we're going to have a Waker expansion, which is quite nice because I was playing Waker recently, leveling my alt, and I feel like one of the key areas they're gonna to tackle with Waker expansion is the PP economy, because like when you don't get any attacks to counter, you run out of PP really fast.
Yeah, it's a big problem with Waker, I think.
Yeah. And
my thing with classes right now is, and I know a lot of people might consider this a hot take, but one update I would be absolutely fine not receiving like new augments or like a level buff and anything. I know people are looking at me like, what are you talking about? We constantly need to get stronger. I'm like, but hear me out. I am still coping for an update where they can unnerf or stop the nerf that we have on subclasses, because that would open up the doors to so many possibilities.
Yeah.
So many mixes and matches. And I know the sweaty players are going to be like, oh, you have to use this specific build with this specific subclass. But honestly, like one of my best friends, Christy, she whoops ass more than anybody else that I know in NGS. And she's using fighter subclass with her bouncer type stuff, and I feel like so many people would have a whole lot more fun like she does if they just played whatever they wanted to without it being criticized because of, oh yeah, well you can't use this because it's a subclass type thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I honestly used to have the exact same build that she did, but I'm reduced to having Slayer as a subclass because it buffs my crit up even more. I would love to go back to Bouncer Fighter. That was fun. Like the whole Goku play style, who wouldn't like to play like that? Like, come on.
Yeah. And me and Sky were actually talking about last episode, like, this whole 10% nerf on subclass weapons, just, it shouldn't exist anymore, in my opinion. It's just limiting the... Because, like, when NGS first launched, the only thing you could really customize about your character is the subclass. But, like, because subclass weapons were nerfed, it's like, well, why should I bother?
Yeah.
And
exactly. Yeah.
And if they actually like bother to like remove that buff, because like we have 20% for ARKS record specifically, and that's the competitive content. Like it doesn't matter if you can use your subclass weapon effectively in like regular content. Like, genuinely, like, who cares at that point?
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, I'll always I'm a little bit of a mix of both, where I'll always advocate for play the way you want and have fun, but I also don't mind metagaming to an extent where it's like, yeah, get the best of everything. But
yeah,
I agree, it just feels really silly right now where subclasses are still nerfed, because I'm like, no, you guys could absolutely do away with that nerf. If you guys want SEGA, totally keep those restrictions where it's like you can only use certain passives on your primary. That's fine. I don't even care. But let us use the power of our sub weapons to their maximum. Like, if we can't use, like, you know, the big buffs that they have on their primaries, whatever. I just want to be able to use sub weapons at full potential.
Yeah. And I feel like,
I mean,
yeah, you first.
I mean, I think at the minute, I mean, I'm trying to think of any subclass combinations that you'd actually use the weapon for. I suppose on Gunner, I know Gunner uses rifle anyway, technically, but I suppose you might subclass Ranger to use the rifle weapon action for the grenades, but I think that's about all I can think of.
Yeah.
I know for the longest time people were using the subclass of Hunter just for the wire distance closer thing, for example. Yeah, we gotta do better, SEGA. Come on.
Though you didn't even need the subclass for that, because weapon action is part of the weapon regardless if you have a class or not.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
So yeah. But I just feel like you could cook with your character build so much more if there was no punishment for it.
Yep.
And yes, technically it's not a punishment, it's a buff to your main class weapon, but it's same shit.
I just wonder what the reasoning was for it, like why they decided to put a penalty on the subclass weapons.
I guess because in the beta people were not using main class weapons at all. But like, I don't know, it's just a problem with you lacking good main class skills, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want us to focus on our primary skills, they kind of already did that with the incentive of like, hey, you get to use all the passives and stuff that are available in said primary skill set. They didn't need to give us that 10% buff, subsequently giving a 10% nerf to the subclass. Because subclass wasn't letting us use all the passives from it in the first place. So, again, I just feel it's super outdated.
Yeah. And like I said, if they want to have that for ARKS records, they could just buff the ARKS records main class bonus and keep stuff like that. I don't know. Because like ARKS records is the only place where it realistically matter. But even then, people are using like Partisan to like finish the parkour Trinitas, Trainia, and like crazy times. So I don't know.
Yeah, I remember when they were abusing JetBoot's little lock-on zoom thing for that one Trinitas where it was like you had to go all the way up. Yeah, I remember that.
And now they're using daggers with the new gap close tech customization. So great.
Yeah, I feel like SEGA needs to, which they did mention, the devs did mention, I think like a headline or two ago, that they're going to try to focus more on balance changes and stuff, which I'm glad they are. So I'm really hoping that they do have subclass in mind when it comes to that, because I feel like that would, like, letting us, like you said, like letting us cook on that regard would be like the best thing ever. I did have something else I was going to say. I just forgot. It'll come back to me. Let's continue.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention earlier is like if there was no subclass penalty, then I, for example, could just use soaring blades on my Tekker, and then I would have a pseudo at wall basically. Because like there's also the motion for the at wall saber thingy, so you could almost recreate at wall. You don't need a full class for it. But like if sword links are going to be nerfed on subclass, then like, why bother?
Oh, I just remembered.
There we go.
They said that they were going to work on balance changes, and I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me, but I'm really hoping they make better decisions on those balance changes. than what they did to Hydra. I'm just saying this out there right now. Hail Hydra. The way they handled Hydra really pissed me off. I'm sorry, but they could have just given it a cooldown instead of nerfing the damage. I know a lot of people just got on their freaking Mars and they decided to just Hydra spam. I wasn't one of those people. I was the anime protagonist that busted Hydra out, used it once, the thing's dead, I'm good. That's literally all I used it for. And them nerfing that when they could have just added a cooldown instead, I believe was not the best decision on that. So
yeah, cooldown would have worked pretty well. That's like the one limiting factor about Skyla. Because like Skyla is all, when you gather all Starling levels, it is as strong as Hydra was before, but like good luck gathering all these Starlings.
Isn't there a thing with Skylar as well where if you dodge you lose them anywhere?
Yeah. So you kind of have to like play around not getting hit or using guard frames to your advantage. Which
good luck with all these orange attacks.
Yeah, which I hope they will buff Mars more in the future, because Skyla especially, like, that held to normal attack is unusable at the moment. Like, it's so slow to show up.
If I remember correctly, they did mention we were supposed to be getting a new action system. I don't know if that happened already. I don't think it has, but
no,
we're supposed to be getting something that's after, I guess, Mars. So I don't know if that's going to be a directly Mars upgrade, or if we are getting... I think it would be kind of silly if we got a completely different like passive buff altogether. Like, we could use Mars on top of doing like a Starless Dark Burst, like how we had in base PSO2 or something. I hope we don't have something as silly as that, because at that point we're wasting like 1/2 or more of us fighting something on building up Mars or building up that new Dark Burst. So it just feels like the incentive for us to have our builds the way they are would be kind of like lessened.
Yeah. They did mention that they're going to do something where your character grows, which sounds like either Beast Mode or Dark Blast. But we have still no idea what it's going to be. I imagine next headline we might see a trailer for that.
So a way that I can see them doing that in a way that it would incentivize us to still keep our builds, because that's the whole entire reason, which, to be fair, we don't know if they were planning on making Mauling Darkfalls like this from the start, but that's the whole entire reason why we didn't want to use Mars as much versus Mauling Darkfalls, because it was more cinematic, if anything, like Hypora type shit, fighting him with the Mars, but we want to be able to fight him normally. That's why the molding form is like Marsless, I guess, or like we have the option to not be locked into Mars. So in the same sense, if they decide to do Dark Burst, don't get me wrong, I loved the JoJo punching from Elder form, but if they decided to not give us skills for the Dark Burst and it was just a form change with like huge stat boosts while keeping us the ability to use our weapons, I think if they handled it that way, that would be the best way to go about doing things.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure it was planned from the start to not have Mars for the Malignant version. Because, like, when they explained how they're planning to balance Mars, they basically went out and said that if you have Bis, then Mars isn't going to be a power boost for you. And that means, to me, that they see Mars more of a crutch for ungeared players. And yeah, Malignant versions of Darkfalls are meant to be like those areas where you grind up your augments and get the strongest gear to fight the enemies. So it wouldn't make sense to be forced to use what is a crutch for ungeared players.
Right, because at that point, like you said, it's not really providing much to like us, the endgame players. Like a fellow friend of mine, Fox, when I see him hopping into Mars during Malding Solus, he only uses Mars as a gap closer whenever he makes those towers rise all the way up high, instead of having to jump off one platform to the other to stop him from like filling everything with lava, so to speak. But I could do that as a bouncer, just looking up there, targeting it, and doing my little jet boost thingy. So it's like, again, it seems to just be very, very like minimalistic, gimmicky utility now for
Yeah.
endgame players of anything, as opposed to damage. Which again, you guys can understand why I'm frustrated about what they did to Hydra, because that right there was a decent amount of like endgame utility. But yeah, they nerfed it. So.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, on Solus, I should probably start using Mars on that part because I always fall off those platforms.
No, yeah, when I saw him doing that, I was like, okay, Fox, all right, I see what you're doing. That's big brain, galaxy brain stuff, especially for, people with classes that don't have gap closers like that. Yeah, it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I used to use Mars for that part as well. But ever since the Tactic expansion, I'm like building compound techniques so fast that I'm just using Xandion to gap out there.
I'm still coping for compound techniques on jet boots. I know everybody's going to throw stuff at me for saying that, but...
Boo! Boo! Has any one of you heard about the next collab that we're gonna have? The Arcanadea.
So, real talk, usually when it comes to collabs, they're extremely hit or miss because obviously everybody's biased to their own series and stuff. I loved the Overlord collab. I dropped so much money when that came out, but I'm honestly feeling like they should bring it back to an extent because Overlord collab missed out on all the CS stuff. We don't have no voice stamps. We don't have none of that because it came out as one of the earlier collabs. So obviously, like back to my point, everybody's going to be very biased towards that. I think this collab, funnily enough, is actually the first time that I've actually been genuinely interested in a collab that I was not aware of, because that Arcadia thing, it says that it's a fantasy sci-fi setting, and I was like, wait a minute, that just sounds like Phantasy Star. What the heck is this? So now I'm actually interested, and then they said at the very bottom text, like, hey, an anime was actually planned as of December of last year, and I'm like, I would watch that shit.
Yeah.
And pretend it's Phantasy Star because all we got was Phantasy Star Oracle, and we should totally have like more anime of Phantasy Star. But yeah, no, I would totally watch that.
Yeah, the funny thing is, someone explained to me, apparently this franchise is like a reverse isekai where characters from an MMO get teleported to the real world. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was honestly the first time I'd even heard of it, but I saw that there was model kits involved, and now I'm interested.
Yes.
Shoot, now I feel like I should get the model kits before this blows up and becomes like infested with normies or something. Because then those are going to be even harder to get. Those are going to be even harder to get now.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look into this.
I do like the outfits of the two characters they showed. One is angel themed and the other is demon themed. I have no bias in this, of course.
Oh, of course. No, both of the girls actually looked pretty decently good. Like the designs were nice, and yeah, I think this collab is decent. I do like that NGS is not afraid to do collabs with things that are not as heard of, as opposed to doing collabs that people have heard a little too much of. Niji Sanji. And trying to do, decent amount of like, hey, I'm going to spread awareness of this because this is awesome and we're going to have this in PSO2,
Yeah. We're also going to have a collab with Sonic in June, and it's like the first Sonic collab that I'm actually looking forward to.
Man, when they dropped the designs on those Shadow, Sonic, and Tails outfits on the main three girls, I was flabbergasted. I was like, wow, this was awesome. This is actually genuinely really cool of them to do.
And they even have Type 1 versions? Like, what?
And the Type 1 versions don't look like weaponized estrogen. Good job, Sega. Keep going down that route.
I think when I saw them, I thought, wow, they actually don't look terrible. I was actually amazed that this didn't look terrible.
Yeah, because like I remember when they did the global exclusive Sonic packs, though I did not like these outfits at all.
Yeah.
They looked a little bit too goofy to me. Like,
I mean, you're telling me, with me being one, a T1, and two, also someone that likes cast parts, I feel like next time around they could focus a little bit more on some Eggman type stuff. Like maybe have some cast parts of like that one big egg thing I forget the name of that was in the movie.
Eggman full body where you become egg-shaped.
Something like that. Gosh, I wish I could remember the name of it. I know my fellow Sonic fans are looking at me like, how do you not remember the name? I know, but no, yeah. Speaking of the Sonic collab itself, I am glad that they're also bringing back the the previous items to the Chaos Emeralds that we had in the first one.
Yeah.
What I'm not 100% a massive fan of is they did switch the song for the LTQ. I'm very biased. I did like Undefeatable a lot, as much everybody did. Like, who doesn't want to just go full blown ham metal on the Dial? Well, actually, it's not even the Dial anymore. It's what's his face from goodness, I forget what that place is called.
Snoruk.
The Japanese place from PSO2. Gosh, why am I drawing a blank?
Yeah, it was Giga, wasn't it?
Haruko-tan, there you go. That one boss from Haruko-tan. Yeah, we have that guy now, which is fair. He's tall. It works.
Yeah. Also, hopefully one day we're gonna have a Rouge outfit in PSO2.
Like, I will agree that we definitely need more Sonic characters, outfits and stuff in there. Like, honestly, we could have had Faria and Rouge's out. Well, maybe not that. Now that I'm thinking about it, hold on, that doesn't math up right there. We could have had. Okay, there we go. We could have had Kanui in Rouge's outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for them to have, I think this is like the third Sonic collab, and only have Shadow as an addition is a little strange. We should definitely have more Sonic characters involved. I know this is a little bit more niche, but if we get Surge in, that would be dope. I do like Surge a lot.
They should honestly just use Skull's character for the Rouge outfit. Because I know she has a VTuber model with Rouge outfit on it, and it's like, wow, that looks actually pretty good.
If we can actually like just scoot back just like a slight smidge, I did have a note that I wrote down that I wanted to touch on. The new LTQ has pass parts. What a freaking incentive! Freaking bravo! They should absolutely do that more often. 100%.
Another thing is like I think those are like Laster cast parts, but they're N spec, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be huge.
It's just nice to get something like that as an incentive for doing the LTQ.
Yeah.
People always want cosmetic stuff, so give them cosmetic stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic incentive because the rate at which they are bringing stuff from base PSO2 into NGS cosmetic-wise is extremely slow. Like, they will have, like, a scratch dedicated to that occasionally, very once in a while, like maybe 1 in 3 months. I'm still waiting for my Deus Macchialos 3 years later, and I'm like, you guys could just start stuffing those in LTQs, and that's going to be, like, all the incentive anybody would ever want for LTQs.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised by the cast parts in there. The only thing that's going to be a bummer is, like, after the LTQ ends, all the returning and new players are just going to be fresh out of luck.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
I mean, like I said, they could always add in rotations. So
yeah,
they can just keep it coming, like how they do with the special scratch ticket, where they just have that there for, like, basically year long until they update it. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like in general they should probably be a little bit better with, like, the limited stuff, because, like, it's fine if you immediately after a limited quest ends and add the limited rewards to, like, a permanent source, but, like, maybe make the permanent source a little bit grindy. Like, the special scratch exchange is, like, the perfect example. Like, nobody in their right mind is going to spend 50 tickets on one item. Because like scratching just gives you everything so easily. But, like, someone who missed out on that might actually be interested in that.
Yeah, I forget what I was doing at the time, but a perfect example is, like, I'll mostly get everything from, like, the mission pass. But there was this one thing in the mission pass where I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I would definitely like that. It was like a Wendigo mask. It was like a bony like a deer head of some kind. And I totally missed out on that. I don't know what I was doing. That I was preoccupied. I probably forgot. And I was like, okay, well, that would have been lovely to have some kind of chance to get that again. But that's been like months, maybe closer to a year now since we've seen that, and I still haven't seen it back. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Earlier we were discussing about all those shops that are basically sitting there doing nothing for, like, that's one thing they could do. We could trade in Inferniums to get old mission pass stuff. We could trade in Blizzardiums for that. Just as an example.
Or, like, old seasonal shop stuff. Because, like, there is a decent amount of stuff that are locked behind seasonal shops that you just don't get anymore. And I personally don't want to wait 9 years until they finally release like the Weapon Badge 2021, where they stuff all the seasonal stuff in it. Like, come on, the game is over. Do it sooner.
Right. Yep. Anyways, we were gonna start talking about the AI generated questions then.
Yeah. After defeating Captain, there is a long pause before you receive drops. Will you speed it up, please? Yes. Thank you for the question.
I feel like this one is extremely trivial.
Yeah.
It's like the other question that we had about like, oh, eating takes too long. I'm like, dog, we're literally eating Go-Gurts. It's just one fell swoop, no gag. Just take that shit in. It does not take long at all. Come on. I promise you, nobody asked for that. Nobody freaking asked for that. That was like the silliest question I think I've ever seen in the headline. And this one is just like, okay, so Captain does his little dance, and maybe we wait like what, 3-4 seconds at the most. You could enough time to type in a dancing emote or a celebrating emote, like a tiny moment of respite just to like dance with everybody while we wait for the rewards to drop. And now we don't even get to do that anymore because someone was like, no, this takes too long. I'm like, what could you possibly be doing in your life that you need an extra 0.4 seconds for? Like, come on.
You know, the funny thing about that eating animation is that I didn't ask the question, but I remember thinking to myself, like, man, I wish I could just cancel this eating animation. And then, like, 2 headlines later, they asked this question. I'm like, nah, dog. Nah, I didn't submit this. And I didn't submit this. It wasn't me.
I do love the idea of someone being so mad that having to wait that 4 seconds for Captain to finish. It's like, I need to complain about this on Twitter.
Like, the only instance that I can even think about it is that like, think of, like, that happening. Because even in PSE areas, like, once you clear everything, that's usually when Captain shows up, and he's usually by himself. You know? Yeah. And so the only instance that I can think of it is maybe in Shameless City when he shows up, because there's still plenty of mobs around. And maybe you're, I guess, too busy, like, dealing with mobs to be in, like, distance of him, but I don't even think that matters. Like, I'm pretty sure if you're in a big relative distance to him, you're still going to get the drops. You just have to, like, smack him once.
Yeah.
So, again, very silly. The only thing I can think of, and this is probably wrong, the only thing I can think of as to why he even had that delayed animation was to give people an extra bit of time if they're like far away in the Shameless City or something to go up to him and smack him. But I'm pretty sure once he's doing that dance, that's already too late.
Yeah, I think the people had an issue with that because Nameless City is on a timer. So waiting those extra 4 seconds every time he spawns probably eats up a lot accumulatively. But again, just increase the spawn rate of those.
We have a massive amount of incentives right now in Shameless City right now either, you know?
Yeah. You know. Maybe they're prepping for whatever is going to be next exploration sector. I would imagine Ultra Retem will probably going to be on a timer as well.
Oh, I didn't even consider that. Huh.
Yeah. And in Ultra Retem will actually make more sense because it's like an entire different realm. So saying that, oh, we can't deploy you for too long because the atmosphere is different makes more sense than in Nameless City.
You know what I just thought of? And I'm really hoping that they don't consider doing this, because for builds like me where we're just like raw damage and like not a whole ton of HP and just a bunch of PP and stuff, I'm really hoping they don't do this. But I wonder if with that environmental change into the Ultra realm, they're going to implement the longer you stay, the more your max HP gets reduced, like false spawn style.
That would be interesting.
That would be very difficult for a lot of folks, I think.
Kind of reminds me
actually. Kind of reminds me at the beginning of the headline. Yui actually was talking about how she had forgotten how difficult it was dealing with freaking Malding Solus. I still have a couple of fellow ARKS that are still dealing with difficulty in NGS, surprisingly, and the only thing I have to say is you gotta get good. I'm sorry, but the game is all about adapting. Like, there's no bigger adrenaline rush than getting over something that you were having difficulty with. So
yeah,
I'm glad that when Yui said that, she didn't say it in a condescending form, like I can't beat him. Like, no, she just says, oh yeah, he's hard, but you know, he's still doable type thing, you know. So yeah. I hope players that are listening in can actually legitimately try to adapt or die because, well, don't die obviously, but like try to adapt to the game because honestly, I think everybody had a massive wake-up call when Solus first dropped. The terminology that I like to use from Armored Core is he was the Balteus of NGS. Everybody got to Balteus and they got their asses absolutely kicked. We had no idea what the hell an orange attack was. When the walls first started coming out, we're like, oh, cool, I'll just sidestep through. Oh, what the fuck? Why am I dead? And it's just like, yeah, that was a wake-up call for everybody. So we're going to be getting more Balteuses for NGS. It's not going to stop at Solus. So we literally have to adapt.
Yeah, and I feel like these molding bosses have been great from a game design perspective in general, because like we actually have like game mechanics now to deal with. Because like that's the one thing that kind of annoyed me about PSO2 bosses once you realize it, is that they're just damage sponges. And nothing really else is going on. Like, most attacks can just be parried or stabbed, countered, or whatever. It's like, you basically become untouchable once you're aware of everything going on. And now we have actual, like, game mechanics. Like, hey, you should jump around here. You should maybe watch out. There's lines on the floor. Maybe pay attention to that.
No, yeah, and honestly, it wouldn't even surprise me if NGS became even more difficult to that regard. One of the things that I was theorizing a while ago was, hey, if they're going to add orange attacks that we can't block, or we can't block or sidestep out of it, we have to like actually manually move away from them. Why not go full blown Undertale mode and just have like a whole Sans thing going on? Or I think it was actually, it was Sans and Papyrus, where if we have a blue attack, say, coming at us, we actually have to hold perfectly still.
Oh, that would be interesting.
So, like, I absolutely can see them applying even more mechanics like that, and I think it would spice things up. I think it would actually be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
Yeah, I think the Malignant bosses have been really, really good so far. I think it's definitely one of the highlights of NGS. I think Dalian in particular as well recently. Although it has been very apparent that people maybe haven't looked into how to do Dalian, because the amount of public games I've been in where people just get slaughtered by Dalian.
One of my better friends who had not touched NGS, I showed him the Solus fight, and he was absolutely super happy to try out NGS just on the Solus fight alone, because he loves games like Sekiro, he loves parrying, he loves doing all that crazy stuff. And so I showed him the Solus fight. It's that high-tiered scale difficulty that separates your, filthy casual from like their, oh yeah, let's lock in and do this type of thing player. Because especially considering, I will agree, as much as I like Solus, I'm liking molding Dalian, because that I don't think anybody was ready for the surprise phase that they had for Dalian. That was freaking funny. Day one, I was just seeing people getting just absolutely destroyed by that. Especially one of my favorite things too about NGS is like the music itself, because it's like, okay, the molding forms, we have them like almost a retro feel now, where it's like a lot more synthetic, a lot more electro kind of thing going on instead of like the choir thing going on. It's a lot more intense. And so personally, I'm a big more fan of the orchestrated stuff, but like I didn't mind the music switch up. So fighting Solus and like, oh, all of a sudden when he goes into his phase 2, he has all those pillars and all those things you got to dodge. It's like once you get through it once, you already know how to do it, right? But Dalian, all of a sudden, like, there wasn't just that new phase, there was a whole music switch up. So all of a sudden the music starts going full-blown horror mode, and you're looking up like, what the hell is going on? What the heck is going on? And I'm absolutely expecting that to happen for molding Vile as well. We are absolutely going, there's no way, I highly doubt we're not going to get a new panic phase, is what I'm going to call that. A panic phase where the music just switches up and you're just like, okay, what the hell's going on? And it's like a point in time where it's, if I don't do things right, we're all going to die.
Yeah,
I really hope so.
Yeah, especially since I imagine they're probably not going to use the lyrical song for the molding version. But like the phase 1 Vile music is pretty good. It's just phase 1 ends way too quick before you actually start to hear.
I agree. So I actually, as much as I like the lyrics from the second half, I freaking love the reference that they did with a burning passion in the phase 1 part of Vile, where it's like everybody was complaining about like, oh, we want Whole New World back. I'm like, oh, you guys want Whole New World back? Here it is, a twisted, messed up version of Whole New World. And one of my veteran friends that got back into NGS recently, a veteran from PSO2, he was asking me, wait, why is Whole New World like a messed up, twisted version? I'm like, remember the story that Zephetto was saying that Vile was the one responsible for killing the most of the 700 billion souls. What do you think the opposite of a Whole New World is? A whole lot of dead worlds. That's what Vile's trying to tell us with that twisted Whole New World theme right there. And I was like, that is so raw. It's so raw.
Yeah.
Didn't they reference it in the second phase lyrics as well? I think isn't there a part in the lyrics that mentions a whole new world?
Yeah, but they're not specifically referencing the song. It's just like the lyrics are just mentioning a whole new world. That was something that I actually had to wait with my melody video until they released the official lyrics, because relying on unofficial lyrics has been very miss for me. And it's so annoying when somebody on Reddit makes lyrics based on listening to the audio, and then lyric websites copy that, and then you open the booklet with your OST CD and like, all of this is wrong.
Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, going back to what we were talking about earlier, community question-wise, let's see, what was the next thing we were going to talk about?
Braver update actually has a little bit of an oopsie, because Fearless Attitude is apparently very difficult to see, and I myself can attest to that I did not know, as someone who picked up Braver after the expansion, that Fearless Attitude even exists as a skill. Because like, it just didn't look like anything special. And I then watched Karopi's Braver guide, where he mentioned Fearless Attitude, and I'm like, what? You can do that? So yeah, I can
Braver, so.
I can appreciate them making it a little bit more visible. And they mentioned that they're also going to make the photon color reflect a little bit more on that older animation. So yeah, I
didn't really have a massive opinion on that one, because I was briefly taught Braver way before the update ever happened, so I didn't really have a massive opinion on that one.
Yeah, I didn't have an opinion on it before either, but like, I can, as someone who picked up Braver after the expansion, I can definitely see how people would have a problem with the new animation. I know a bunch of people prefer the newer one. Kind of wish they could maybe add a toggle, but I also see how it's not exactly possible to do.
I think the whole visual effect thing is a kind of an issue with NGS in general to an extent. I think sometimes there is so much going on screen, it can be hard to see effects going off. So I don't think it's necessarily
especially in PSE bursts. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like sometimes when I do,
I have this point when I go looking at PSE bursts. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many colors and everything.
Yeah, I gotta put up my sunglasses for this. Sometimes I get hit when I fight Dalian, because like the puppet in the middle of the area is like covering the entire screen, and it explodes right around the time Dalian does some other attack, so I don't see it happening. And so yeah, there's a lot of visual clutter with this game, and that's also something that like people were concerned about when NGS first got announced, because like we were used to PSO2 having relatively simple graphics, and then you'll see New Genesis where it's like, oh, all these particle effects flying around when I basically sneeze. So yeah.
If I had to say like a suggestion regarding like a updated visual effects, and I know this may sound like extremely filthy casual, but hear me out. When mauling Dalian puppets decide to just freaking punch the ever-living crap out of you 800 times with the same arm, I've seen so many people, like veterans still included, still get hit by that. Like, the timing of it if you dodge too early, even if you still land in the frame of the first punch, can still have you get hit in the second punch, even if you're still trying to dodge or like block it, because of the timing is just the punches require you to have extremely like hyper specific timing on whatever dodge or block that you're trying to do. So if I did have any visual like recommendations, is we only have a very tiny, like at the center of our torso, blink of light whenever we have the invincibility frame of the dodge. I feel like that could be improved.
Yeah, because
like we need like some kind of either a meter, like showing the frame, which I know sounds like crazy, but like we need some kind of better visual showing us how much invincibility frames we have at that point.
Yeah. I also feel like step countering is harder in general, because what was it? I think every block you can do has like 0.02 seconds duration, while the step counter specifically has 0.012 seconds. So it's like very tight window compared to a block, like by default.
Right. Yeah, I think both step counter and block would be better for visual updating. Because in my case, I'm a soaring blades kind of guy, and so when I use the spot dodge, that has a lot of frames, which at first was like, oh, this is fantastic. You know, I can basically just go Ultra Instinct on everything, except when it comes to consistent attacks, like the Mauling Dalian puppet arm rush thing.
Yeah.
The thing with that is if I'm losing DPS actually by not blocking, because I'm supposed to block those so I can get the huge extra damage. But if I do that, because of the visual being so tiny and hyper specific, I usually either will have to dodge at one point or I'll have to like get hit at one point, because the timing of it, that one is way tighter than the spot dodge. Now the spot dodge, the way that works is I could spot dodge the first punch, and because the invincibility frame sits there, that means I don't have to dodge the second punch. But then, if I dodge the first punch, because the punches start speeding up, then guess what? If I dodge too early, I'm absolutely getting fucking decked in the face after that, even if I try to block or dodge. You know? So, yeah, we definitely need a better visual indicator.
I feel like that
I wasn't the only one who thought that. Because I play Bouncer as well, and I've struggled with exactly the same thing.
No, yeah, it's a very consistent thing, and I think from what I've seen when I've discussed it with other folks, it's been happening to a bunch of other classes as well.
Yeah, I feel like the puppet for Dalian specifically is very egregious in that regard, because for me as a Tector, like the punches are perfectly synced up with my block counter, so I don't really have an issue with that. But again, I absolutely see how that would be an issue on something like Soaring Blades. Where
now, don't get me wrong, I can absolutely switch to jet boots and then dodge those with the greatest of ease, like 100% of the time, because jet boots dodge, I think, arguably is like the best in the game. But if I'm trying to max out my damage, obviously I'm going to want to use Soaring Blades, you know? So, yeah.
Let's see. Oh, there's some good news for gunner players. They're finally looking into chain boost not disappearing when you hop into cannons and Mars. It's been an issue for 4 years. We're finally here at a fix in August.
I don't personally use Gunner, but when I saw that, the first instantaneous thing was, why stop there? There's so many passives that are really lame to lose after building them up. Once you go into Mars, I, again, have stopped using Fighter a while ago, but the first thing I thought of was, like, why aren't we doing this for Double Saber's Whirlwind, for example? You know? And I'm hoping that it's not a technical issue in the code where Whirlwind would inherently buff the ever-living crap out of Mars itself instead of, you know, your Double Saber, but I just feel like that should carry on over, you know?
I could imagine that they will also address Whirlwind in the August patch. They just didn't mention it. But I feel like they could have probably gained a lot of karma points by mentioning, like, hey, we're gonna improve Whirlwind as well. Because I know there's a decent amount of fighter players who weren't happy with the fighter expansion, so Yeah.
I will have to admit that I might be one of them, because I was really looking forward to going back to my bouncer fighter build when the fighter update dropped. But then when I started playing the fighter build again, I just felt like it was still kind of like lackluster, because I had this whole anime protagonist setup where I had two weapons. One of them was a multi-weapon of fists and boots for the whole Goku type thing, and the other one I was essentially doing the whole anime protag thing where it's like you have your soaring blades and then you stick them both together for the double sabers type thing. You know, I had that thing going on, which I found pretty neat. But because Whirlwind goes away so dang quickly, you know, I found myself 99% of the time just using double sabers to take out trash mobs. Again, subsequently because of the lackluster subclass thing going on, but I would kind of turn in and out using the AoEs of both Soaring Blade and the AoEs of Double Saber in combination, like one after the other. And that I had like a pretty fun build with, but it just kind of dropped off after that because, like you said, most people was not really a huge fan of the fighter update.
Yeah,
I think for me, I'm happy to see the changes to the chain boost, but for me, it was a kind of case of why are we stopping there with Gunner specifically? Because I haven't really played Gunner much until recently, and I'd heard that it was kind of behind the other classes. And after playing it, it is so rough. You have to put so much more work in to get any kind of damage really out of it. It's just such an awkward class to play. And I kind of feel that if we're doing this to Gunner, why couldn't we just rebalance it a bit as well? I mean, maybe that's coming later on, but it would have been nice to have some more work on Gunner, I think.
Yeah, I feel like Gunner especially is one of those classes where at the very least long-range advantage shouldn't exist, because Gunner is a class that relies heavily on counters, and if you're gonna incentivize a aggro-less build, then you're not gonna get those counters, which in turn nerfs your damage, which is a little bit counterproductive.
It's even things like, you know, just starting to build a chain on things like Malignant Dalian, particularly on the final part. It's actually sometimes quite awkward to get a good chain going because he attacks so often.
Yeah.
So you're kind of relying on doing counters and building your chain up that way. But it just feels like so much more work than any other class.
Yeah.
They definitely need to close the gap when it comes to these class changes. Because also the other thing I was going to mention too is I've seen folks complaining about why haven't we had a new class since Slayer, and I'm like, honestly, let them fix the classes we have now before we worry about getting more stuff.
Yeah. That's I feel like they probably have some class ideas in the pipeline, but like they're obviously a very small dev team, and it's probably better they do what they can handle instead of trying to cast a wide net and then have a bunch of classes that are behind. Like we had in PSO2 when Hero came out and just swept the floor with everyone else, and everybody hated it.
Yep, same thing with Luster.
Yeah. And with Luster, technically, they never fixed that because the game was over anyway.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would absolutely love Phantom to come back as much as the next guy, but no, I definitely want them to work on the stuff that we have now. I think the best rework, I don't know how good the Hunter rework was, but like of the reworks that we have had so far, I think the best rework was definitely the I'm not going to say Bouncer, the Soaring Blade specifically, because I don't think they did a whole massive ton with jet boots. Still missing my compound skills. But when it comes to everything else they did with Soaring Blades, that was a fantastic rework. I really like that.
Yeah. That was also the biggest rework, so much so that they even titled it a renewal instead of a expansion. Yeah, if we like not count Bouncer because of that, I would say that the best reworks so far were probably Tector and Force.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
How was that one? Because I haven't used those. How was that one?
It's very good, actually. Like they fix a lot of issues with both weapons, both classes, and they didn't do the easy thing where they just homogenize the two classes, because they share basically every skill with each other. But with the expansions, they basically strengthened each class's unique playstyle. So Tector now is better at building plots in their one gameplay, but they're not about building plots with their one gameplay. Meanwhile, Force is about that, but like now you have an entire skill that rewards you for smartly using your compound techniques and photon blasts and having a longer... basically, like, imagine if Fighter had a skill that extend limit break duration if you play well.
Oh, that'd be nice. Okay, no, yeah, that's a pretty good change then.
Yeah. And I was very happy when I saw these changes, because, like, I was so afraid they were just gonna be like, okay, we're just gonna take the easy way out. We're gonna make Force and Tector play more similar to each other, because that's easier to balance. Well, no, they went and said, we're gonna move them further away from each other and make them stronger in each individual fields, which I very respect they did.
That's how it should be, because they are two different classes.
Yeah.
Rewinding a slight tinge back to when we were talking about subclasses, kind of in the same notion a little bit. I just had a question. I never really looked into this, but can subclasses also utilize the modded skills, or is that something only the primary could do?
No, subclasses also use TechArts customizations.
Okay, I really hope if that's the case that's not SEGA's argument for not buffing the subclass then.
Yeah, same. Because, like,
yeah.
I mentioned it in the previous episode how there's this one PA that has the TechArts free, which buffs Pinion Blade build-up by 50%, and like no bouncer's ever going to use this because you already build Pinion Blade on cooldown. But
really fast, yeah.
Yeah, but on a subclass you're not building it up on cooldown. You barely use your subclass weapon at all. So having that sped up is actually really useful for a subclass weapon.
Yeah. But that, again, it's just very hyper-specific stuff. We're not going to get, like, not everybody's going to get massive utility off of, so.
Yeah.
But anywho, what did the other questions say? I think that was, I guess, all of them.
That was it. One thing I'll say on Gunner is that I hope the August patch will also, like, buff Gunner a little bit. Maybe not too much, because I know they're scared. They're still scared over the horrors that happened in PSO2 with Chain. But Gunner definitely needs some help with their damage output.
Yeah, it just feels that, you know, even if you build up to like 100 Chain and then break it, the amount of work I'm doing to get that, and I'm doing less damage than some of my other classes, it just shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
When I did play the classes in the beta of NGS, I did notice Gunner was very mobile. So the one thought that I had from a friend of mine that uses Gunner as for a buff from it was, everything needs a sacrifice. I know SEGA always wants to make sure that you can't just have this for free. You gotta work for it type thing. So one thing that they had thought that they had was, if they made it to where there's a passive or ability where Gunner gets extremely buffed up, but they have to hold still to make up for that. So, just a thought.
Yeah. So, the only thing left is now community questions, I guess.
Thank you again to everyone who sent questions in.
Yeah.
Did we have a whole ton of those? Let me actually check the hashtag right now, see if I can find some new ones.
We only got 2, unfortunately, and they're a month old. They basically came out after we recorded the previous episode, like the day after, which was a bit unfortunate. But we're gonna answer them now. So, let's see. The first one is, what can we do to unite and motivate the PSO2 NGS global community? I think that this is part of the key to open paths for the player base to grow in the future. I know people won't like this answer from me, but I think self-moderation in your spaces is probably very important, and I don't see that enacted in many places. Like the subreddit for PSO2 NGS is just a dice roll if you're actually gonna get people who are enjoying the game and who are just there to shit on it, which isn't a good look.
It's a bit of an echo chamber, I find.
Yes, the Doom posters.
Yeah, and
I hate this game. Meanwhile, they're just sitting AFK in the lobby doing nothing. Gotta love them.
Yeah, and then you also have like the comment section on PSO2 official, which is just the cesspit. I'm actually like convinced that most people who comment there don't even play the game. They're just there to wish the game
No, they
to
don't.
death.
They're just being total Mongotrons. They go there and they're just being naysayers, like, oh, I have to be a contrarian or who knows what.
Yeah, and it's so silly, especially with like the recent headline, because they announced a bunch of cool shit, like, oh, we have a new field, we're gonna update the already existing fields, we'll have a new rarity, new armor, new content, and people are like, oh, glad I quit, game sucks now. Like, no, you didn't even watch the video, dude.
Huh? No, yeah, they didn't. Like, I'm one of those people that always joke around, like, oh, next update we'll have like the No Man's Sky update. We'll be able to make our own ships and just go off and stuff. I'm like, I'm still playing NGS. It's the closest thing we have to MMO Xenoblade X, so I'm still playing it. Like, nonstop.
Which, by the way, you should play Xenoblade X. It didn't sell very well, and it's a good game. Please pick it up.
Yeah, Xenoblade X is like the perfect example. I've always told people is like, this is what NGS could become.
Yeah,
but with people, which brings me to my next point of like, how do we make the unite and motivate the PSO2 global community? Thing is, a lot of people will. I use this term sarcophagus. They'll be a sarcophagus and they will just not interact with people. It's an MMO. You got to get out there and talk to people. Okay? Like, stop being in Central, waiting for people to just come next to you and be like, holy crap, this dude's aura farming. Let me invite him to the party. That's not how it works. You got to start talking to people. Okay? Make some friends. The absolute biggest deal breaker of an MMO is if you have friends or not in there. The game could be as fun as it possibly is, but if you're not having that fun with your friends, it's going to get stale. You're going to get burnt out a whole lot faster by doing things by yourself. You got to go out there, make some friends. It's entirely the reason why I came back to PSO2 NGS on a massive hiatus, is because I started making a whole lot of friends. I started talking to people, and that's how I came back. And I still am really good friends with those people up until this day. You know, you just got to do it. If you go to literally any MMO and you don't know anybody and you just try to do things on your own, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, I feel like if you ask anyone like what's their favorite memory about any MMO, even like a small MMO, like, I don't know, Vindictus or MapleStory. Oh, I guess MapleStory is bigger these days, but like everyone will probably mention something they did with their friends and had fun with.
Mm-hmm. I had the most fun with maple syrup too with my friends, and then they canned it. I'm still mad about that.
Yeah.
I think for me, the one thing we can do to try and unite the community is just hosting things like community events as well. I think that's a good way of bringing people together. I think that some of the NGS creators do a good job of that already with doing different events to try and, bring people online. I suppose doing things like this as well, if we can highlight the good that's in the community, then that shows that the game is not entirely toxic. Which, if you're a new player coming into NGS and you've never played it before, if you look at some of the comments on Reddit or on YouTube, you're just going to get turned away from it because there's so much negativity.
Yeah.
So if we can try and show some of the good stuff that's in the game and some of the good things that are happening in the community, maybe it'll encourage people to unite and actually, check out the game.
Yeah, and that's also been like the idea behind my channel. Like, I had many opportunities where I could like either make a video talking shit about someone else criticizing the game, because like there's one particular guy who has really awful takes on the game, and yeah, but like that's not the point of my channel. The point of my channel is like to highlight like, oh, this is cool about the game. Like, this is what I thought about the new story update. Like, hey, this is fun. I had fun clearing Masquerader, whatever. And I feel like way too many people fall for the easy grift of making a negative video, because like that's easy way to make views. Like,
it is, yeah.
Every time I made a video that's like slightly critical of the game, suddenly it has like 2,000 views, which is like great.
Yeah, same for me as well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, attention span of a lot of folks tends to draw towards negativity, or just I found it does better with memes at this point, so I've just been trying to do things more so involving memes.
Yeah,
like I'll be on Twitter, and my pinned post on my Twitter has always been that one where it's like me memeing up the whole Dark Falls Vile fight with like a whole bunch of stuff. And that one, let's see, it has 48 likes. Meanwhile, I'll make some random comment on some random thread. I'll post one meme, sometimes not even saying anything. Boom, 4 grand likes. And I'm like, yeah, this is not adding up right here. Like, come on now.
Yeah, I feel like memes in general are a easy way to like make people laugh about even like the bad parts about the game. Like
like for crap's sake, my most liked tweet about NGS, I shit y'all not, was me talking about Jet Kick's cake taking up my whole screen when I logged in that one time. That's literally my most liked tweet, and I'm like, man, I'm flabbergasted right now.
Yeah, I did.
NGS community wild.
Yeah, I did that one meme like a couple years ago where I basically took a edit of I think it was about cicadas, how there's a fungi infecting them and turning male cicadas female, and I just dubbed it over about people using AC scratch tickets to turn male ARKS into female ARKS.
You know, I've actually been trying to look for this post that I made a while ago. I hate that Twitter's buries media so hard, and it's really hard to find stuff that you've made. There's this one video that I made a while ago. I forget the name of the anime. It's something about level 2 in another world or something around those lines, where the guy has like this one giant wolf chick trying to kill him, and then all of a sudden she turns into a waifu. Y'all know the one that I'm talking about. Well, in like the first few episodes or so, because, you know, generic isekai, obviously he has your whole little status HUD and whatever. There's this one part where he is like, wait, I can switch myself into a girl, and then all of a sudden he's poof, caked up. Super caked up, super stacked up. And so I took that and I basically turned it into that one AC scratch where it was like 90% T2 stuff and like 1% T1 stuff. And I know you guys are probably looking at me like, do you have the slightest idea how little that narrows it down? Because they do this like all the time, right? So I did that, and then at the very end of the video, I started popping up Discord notifications because it's like, holy crap, they turned into a girl. Let me start messaging them now. Everybody loved that one, and I want to retweet that one, but I can't freaking find it for the life of me. But yeah, that's a running gag. Like, they obviously want more T2 players because that's their moneymaker. Dan74 coming up. But yeah.
Guilty as charged.
Yes. I also like that they're figured out pretty early that they should probably make a central comic. It's like, yeah, it's not canon, but it's like so funny seeing these characters interact like this. This week we got a comic that was basically poking fun at Dozer being like the most common support message in Vile.
Well, not just that too, but like as of late, that one recent thing that they did that absolutely sent my ribs into orbit. Freaking Mars, Rappy's big ass freaking Mars rentals in the Nameless City. That whole skit that they did, that was freaking hilarious. Yeah.
Fun has a name, and the name is Nameless City.
No, yeah, they definitely need to do more stuff like that. That was great. So, yeah, everything that we just talked about, 100% is how we get into the NGS global community to unite and stuff. I would even say, I know, like, they probably wouldn't really care too much to do this, but if we had like a poster board or something in the game that we could put up events, like player-hosted events, I think that would be cool too, because we always have stuff that I don't think a whole ton of people are aware of, or not enough people are aware of, like, you know, Cast Day. You know, we always have that on the 10th of the month. We can always do more stuff like that. You guys could have a furry day. I'm not even judging. Go be weird. Go do that stuff, you know? You guys could have a whole strict T2 day or a T1 day, or stick to a theme, you know? I know a lot of guilds, alliances, so to speak, do that, where they'll stick to a theme and do that. But I mean, why stop there? Why not just make it player wide? You know what I mean? Yeah, and I know it's probably going to be one of those things where it's like, okay, well, it's not, you know, it's player hosted events that don't really have to do with the combat, and it's just like fashion stuff, which a lot of people seem to like downplaying NGS for, because it's like fashion related, and I'm like, but that's like one of its biggest strengths. Like, why would you be mad? You get to look however you want in an MMO, you know? Like, okay, yeah, sure, let me go to this other MMO looking like generic Knight number 2 for like everybody else. Like, no. Like, I freaking love the way I look at NGS, and the only other game that I've been able to even remotely look like that is Code Vein. That says a lot. you know? So that's one of the biggest strengths. I absolutely think we should be having more player-hosted events regarding that. And if they decide to bust out more contents later on, where we decide to like, hey, let's just focus on this LTQ, we can do that as an event as well. You know, it doesn't just have to be all combat stuff.
Yeah, I also feel like that I should probably implement something like you mentioned, like a board where you can announce stuff, because it's very difficult right now to find people to do content with. Because like, let's say there is a group that is farming deck space like optimally, which a pack won't do. Like, unless you know the right people, you won't get into that group, which is unfortunate. And
this is very true.
Yeah, and if you had like a party finder system or something where you can like maybe announce like, hey, I wanna farm Dalian, but I don't have any friends to play with, then. Or I want to farm purple triggers, but I don't have any friends to play with. That could probably attract attention to you more easily, which I feel like this game would greatly benefit from.
One thing that I think above all else would greatly benefit from having like a poster board, housing board of some kind, or something around those lines to show like, hey, if you guys want certain stuff, come to this area or this time type thing. Is something where players like veterans like you, myself, anybody else that has played the game for quite some time can guide new players to know how to augment, how this and that, because I don't think Sega's realized this, but a new player trying to figure out how to augment is basically looking at Egyptian hieroglyphics. It's really weird to get into. Now, thankfully, nowhere near as bad as base PSO2, but there is so much more information that the game is throwing at new players that obviously they're just going to be like, what the heck is going on? It's a lot better to have someone guiding you along the way.
Yeah, and there isn't even like a sweeping statement you can make like, oh, just open this menu and you'll see what you'll need. Like the item lab, for example, the capsule exchange, like that is a mess these days. Like there's so many capsules of different kinds, and like, okay, so which one are good? Like a new player isn't going to parse that at all. So
yeah, they're not gonna know, and they're gonna be spending a whole bunch of time doing stuff without having enough information. Like I know everybody, and thankfully it's getting a nerf now, but everybody was collecting different augments for a Badongo. What's it called?
A Bandak.
There you go.
Yeah.
They were making all these different augments just for that, and now it's finally getting a nerf, and they're buffing everything else up, but. It's because of that like people were like so confused as to, okay, do I want to get Maji stuff? Do I need this other thing right here? And thankfully the game's at a good point right now where, like you said, if we have people that are actively saying to other people, hey, let's do deck space, then yeah, guess what? That means new players now have a chance to farm Maseda that they can easily go and catch up and grab a Lars for cheap on the player shop, or like the Rarities and stuff, the ones that nobody wants, not the def stuff obviously, but the potency is what counts. At least you can get like a Gual Melra or something, or a Wardrobe Melra, and all of a sudden, hey, I have the damage now. And they're not locked out of like the high tier stuff. They could do that if they had more players saying like, hey, let's go and just go full blown ham. Like I don't grind as much as I used to, but when I do, yeah, I would be at that for like plus 2, 3, 4 hours, and like my other friends as well. And like, yeah, we'll get tired and take breaks, but we will be at that. We will pop all the Red Dead Redemption, all the RDR. We will stack that, and especially with these events coming up right now, with Sonic having like, what was it, 340%?
Yeah.
I think we might even hit the 1,000 with the right amount at that point. So yeah, tons of ways we can get more stuff at that point.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing about like tutorialization as well, I think it extends even beyond the item lab as well. I mean, I recently did a video for Creative Space, and I know the game does give you a very basic tutorial for Creative Space, but it's so lacking. There's so much it doesn't tell you.
Yeah.
And I just feel that one thing NGS just doesn't do well is teaching people how to actually approach the different systems that it has. I feel that the game could improve a lot from that. So if players were willing to sort of sit down with new players, or teach people how to approach these different systems, then it's going to become more approachable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing too is the reason why I advocate, like, yes, obviously we have like those big top right panels that go through, and it's honestly just like people glaze through that like all the time. Like NGS players or Yu-Gi-Oh players, we don't read. When we see random stuff on our screen, we're just like, I'm just focused on what I want to do. So when someone comes up to y'all and actually actively asks you a question, then yes, they're going to be paying attention, you know? They're not paying attention to the things that are on the right of the screen that actually would tell them the information they need. For example, I had another friend that started, and someone else was telling them, oh yeah, just go to the seasonal shop and pick up the latest weapon there. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. You could spend 30k Meseta and get the Tricelio in the treasure shop. You know, people don't know these things yet, you know?
Yeah. Especially
Yeah.
since like nothing really indicates that there's a event going on in the treasure shop.
Yeah.
Like if you don't
Right.
read the website, you don't know about it at all. So yeah.
So, yep, case in point, all this stuff is definitely ways we can help out, unite the community, just honestly communication and doing more player-oriented stuff.
Yeah, because like one of the more common complaints you hear about people who aren't just looking to shut on a game is like they don't know what to do. And recently we got that new feature in the top of the menu that displays you what the content of the week is or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's like specifically just to target those players who log in and have no idea what they should be doing.
I feel like I should make one of those charts where it's like the whole yes/no thing that branches down into more yes/nos. It's like, do you lick fire? Are you able to aura farm right now? Yes. Okay. Are you best in slot? No. Okay, then go ahead and do this. It's just like, you know.
Yeah, and I also feel like a lot of people who are maybe complaining about the combat being stale, like they probably don't gear and don't do the harder fights, which would probably change their opinion on the combat a little bit. But that's also like because the game doesn't really tell you that that's the I suppose end game of the game. Because like
I personally have no idea how. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because like you can play most of the game using the free handout gear, but your damage will be shit, and you won't be able to like participate in the newest, hardest content in the game. When I would say that's probably the funnest content in the game, honestly.
I agree. Yeah, like when I look at NGS's combat, it's actually one of the bigger reasons why I've stuck around this long. We got hops for freaking days. Like we got Xenoblade X hops in that. Arguably even better because we could still scale mountain like goats if we wanted to. We got hops for days. Okay, we got mobility for days with all the different stuff we have, not including the other mobility devices that we can run into. We have parrying. Who doesn't like parrying? You know, for your average Dark Souls kind of player. We have the spot dodging for everybody that wants to go full Ultra Instinct Goku type stuff. We got so many different weapons to choose from. Like. Yeah. The combat is, I think, one of NGS's biggest selling point, which absolutely mind blows me how people are watering it down to, oh, it's just fashion. I'm like, no, it's not. NGS's combat is freaking amazing. You couldn't be able to find something like that in any other game. In fact, matter of fact, I think the other game, the only other MMO I can even think of that remotely has as good combat, and don't get me wrong, the combat is still fantastic in this other game. It's just obviously a completely different style as Warframe. That's the only thing that comes to mind. Other than that, NGS has like the best fighting style that I have seen in an MMO, 100%. Like the spot dodging, the parrying, the jumping, the freedom. Oh, and my best favorite thing that most MMOs seem to have for some weird reason: no fall damage. We have no Prince of Persia fall damage.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be able to find that in most other games. Yeah. And we had like one more question, right?
Yeah. So thank you for submitting the question. We went a little bit on a tangent there, but hopefully we answered insightfully. The next question: is it possible for NGS one day to become popular instead of being niche? I would say you can be popular and niche at the same time.
Absolutely. That's what's called a hidden gem, which is absolutely what NGS is.
Yeah. Also,
we are absolutely a hidden gem.
If we're gonna maybe rephrase the question and be like, is it possible for NGS to be mainstream? I would say maybe no, but also it doesn't have to be. Because
there's a lot of there's a lot of pros and cons with things becoming mainstream. The pros is more money for SEGA, so in return we do get more stuff, but then it's like the Wario meme of like, I've won, but at what cost? Because now we have a lot of people plaguing the game with the most questionable takes possible, and it's those people plaguing the game that opens up the worst kinds of people joining these type of games that are advocately trying to change the game so that it suits what they want type thing, like and it's those type of things that causes the devs to like maybe consider, oh, maybe we should change the game. And I'm like, please don't change the game for people that are going to play for like 1 second and like not bother with it anymore. There's so many examples of that. Concord. Okay, we all saw what happened in Concord. Okay, so it's like, no, like please don't. A game for everybody is a game for nobody. I stand by that. So we got to stick to what we have right now. Even if new players start flooding the game, and if they start asking for specific hyper changes, Sega needs to put their foot down and like, just stick to what they're doing, or improve obviously, but like stick to what they're doing.
Yeah, and like, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say as well, it depends what we're classing as popular as well, because I would argue that NGS maybe still is popular, particularly on the Japanese side.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely is. Yep.
On the global less so, but that's always been the case, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Global, I honestly, the only reason why I can think of why global is, if we could even call it this, like not as big as JP, is because there is a whole lot more judgmental folks on the Westaboo side, unfortunately. Like that's just what it just comes down to. Yeah. Like everybody, like the whole recent thing that I'm seeing right now on Twitter about Dance 74, everybody knows how fan servicey NGS is, okay? And I'm a massive advocator for the power of fan service. Okay, one example I can think of is that one gacha game Snowbreak that came out. Everybody tried it for a little bit and then they stopped playing it. It was like, yeah, it's cool, it's an FPS. And then all of a sudden they quintupled down on the fan service, literally saved the game out of bankruptcy, and gave the devs enough pocket money to make Mecha Break, which is a fantastic concept coming out soon. And so I'm like, no, yeah, fan service is definitely going to keep the game alive. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the official arts of NGS, they always draw the main poster girls very, very pretty, very curvy, okay? They know what they're doing, okay? The fan service helps, okay? So when it comes to that type of thing, of like, if you want the game to be popular, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Fan service does help. It just does, okay? And the people complaining about Dance 74 that I've seen, I'm just like, guys, we have literally the chair dance with a pole. We have the banana boat thing. Like, we have balloon bosms. We have end spheres. Okay, I've seen people do things with end spheres I wouldn't even be able to concept and grasp, and probably things that I need to bleach my eyes to at the same time. It's just like, dogs, no. Like, the game's been fan servicey from the start. Like, why are we complaining about this? I feel like people that are complaining about fan service don't realize that you're directly complaining about Sega making more money, thus helping the game.
And another thing is like the balloon blossom. That was a player-submitted item design from a contest back in PSO2. So, yeah.
I think I would also argue as well that another reason that the franchise is maybe more niche on global side is because it was absent for so long.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, prior to PSO2, it was... I don't even know what the last Phantasy Star game was before that.
Phantasy Star Portable 2, actually.
Portable 2, so that'd be what? 2008, 2009, around there?
Somewhere.
Yeah, most of the folks that were excited about global, or like going full ham into global, were folks that had JP accounts from the get-go of base PSO2. They did wait, unfortunately, way too long for that. And NGS, honestly, one, would honestly have been nicer to cook NGS a little bit more before it came out, and two, it came out way too soon when global came over. I don't even, how long was it? Was it like a year or two or something that NGS came out after?
Yeah, I feel like this is like the main issue with global players, is that they experienced 9 years of PSO2 in one, and then they had the sobering realization that the content pace on active servers is way slower, and the sobering realization that NGS is undercooked at the same time. So they lumped it together as being like, oh, NGS is the problem, and not that the content pace in general is way slower than what you're used to.
I think their sight is very, very small. They don't see the bigger picture of like, look how long it took for base PSO2 to reach the end game, to reach everything it has. You guys need to let NGS cook the exact same way. I'm sorry, but there's no such thing as an MMO that's going to come out with like a gazillion tons of content right off the get-go.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's a very unrealistic expectation to have in general, and that's also why all these WoW killers that were trying to like dethrone WoW were failing for so many decades, because like you're not going to dethrone WoW. You need to establish your own presence in the genre. And I feel like PSO2 is doing a fantastic job with that, because like no other MMO is giving you the same creativity with your character creator. No other MMO has this satisfying of a combat system. With housing, I think some other MMOs are as good, if not better. But like PSO2 has its own strength, and it needs to play to its own strength. And unfortunately, that will not maybe appeal to most people, but it will appeal to people who will enjoy those kind of things. And I think that's what you need to bank on.
Yep, and like the point I was making before, it's all about having people in there to interact with and stuff. I'm just going to say this, and for anybody listening into the podcast that's a naysayer / doom poster, if you guys are actively making videos and just dogging on the game, you guys don't have friends in the game. Let's be real, okay? Whether it's you guys never tried to make friends or your friends stopped playing, that's unfortunately the truth of it. And you know what? That's fine. If my friends left NGS, I would eventually probably be looking for something else, honestly. I spice up my stuff. I'm on Helldivers. I'm on Outward. I'm on like a ton of different stuff. I'm playing through Fuga series right now. I don't just do NGS. Go out and do other stuff. People complain about, oh, NGS doesn't have content every 3 microseconds. I'm like, go out and do something. Go touch grass even. If that's something that's graspable in your concept, go out and have fun and do some other games and stuff. The point of MMOs is, hey, it's a seasonal thing. Like, yeah, you can grind your mind off, but it's a seasonal thing. Just come back when stuff starts going crazy, you know?
Yeah, on that note, I also would like to say that I appreciate that New Genesis isn't hogging my time like 24/7, because like I do want to play other games as well, or maybe like do some other stuff. Like lately I picked up the pencil to like try to learn how to draw, and
nice.
that's like eating up a lot of time, obviously. But like if I had to play New Genesis like 5 hours a day just to keep up, like I wouldn't be able to do any of this. That would be like horrible in my opinion.
It's a game, not a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, picking up art, I will always advocate is worth the time, because then at that point, it's like if you want something visualized to show off to people, it's like fine, then I'll do it myself. You have the power to do that now.
Exactly. There isn't enough New Genesis fan art. I'll do it myself.
And that is why I'm drawing too. I am exactly doing that. Matter of fact, a sneak peek of a concept I actually had in mind to do. Call me furry, I don't care. The outfits that the NGS girls have, Aina, Manon, and Nadara. I actually am planning on drawing them, not in those outfits, but drawing them as Mobius, as their own Sonic characters. I think would be a cool thing to see. So that's a concept. I've actually never drawn a Sonic character before, so this would be a first for me. So we kind of need to get out of our comfort zone when it comes to that kind of thing. But yeah, again, going back to the point, NGS gives us the opportunity to do other stuff. People see that as a bad thing, but people also don't realize, why would you want to dedicate your entire time to one thing, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, I say that, but I dedicated my entire life to PSO for years. So.
Well, but that you're also doing PSO across generations of different games, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's different. Yeah.
So thank you for the question. And if you wanna see more questions featured, please use the hashtag ARKSLounge. Hopefully next time we're gonna have more questions, because I always love answering them.
Yeah, I'll try and post on Twitter a bit more to just remind people.
Yeah, I was kind of slacking with the screenshots this month, but that's also because I was focused on other things, like I said, with the drawing thingy. I feel like I did the Central Comic Aina pretty well, but that's obviously like redrawing something that's already drawn. It's like always easier than drawing something unique. But yeah, that's going to take a long time before I actually get good at drawing.
Hey, same concept with, trying to overcome difficulty obstacles in NGS. You just practice makes perfect. You gotta adapt.
Exactly.
Yep.
I haven't drawn in years. I should probably do it again.
Yeah. With that note, I don't know if you guys would have me on for the next one, but I would definitely be down to if you guys want to. If you guys want someone else, that's totally fine too. But this is my first time actually doing a podcast, and I had a lot of fun, honestly.
Yeah, I'm down to having you on as a guest sometime next time.
Nice.
I know for the next episode we're gonna have Zio, the lore keeper, and
Nice.
it's also gonna coincide really well because next month I think we're gonna have stronger opinions on the new story updates. So that'll be fun talking with him about it.
Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, yeah, if you guys will have me, I'd love to join in again. So,
Yeah. But hope this episode of ARKS Lounge was fun. I had a fun recording it. Thanks for coming on the show, Nox.
Yeah, it's really fun talking to you.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I'd love for you guys to have me again. I love talking about PSO2. So,
Yes. I also love talking about the PS2. Little known fact.
PSO in general.
Alright. So, hope everyone had fun with this episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.
See ya.
peace.